Hello and welcome to Diminishing Returns. Last year we did 50 Shades of Grey and it proved to be a very popular, if somewhat blue, episode. So we thought we'd follow it up now that 50 Shades Freed is coming out. Sexy. Obviously this one contains spoilers for 50 Shades of Grey and 50 Shades Darker. Apologies in advance. Yes, hello, it's Diminishing Returns. We did this last year. We're doing it again. It's 50 Shades of Grey. What's it called this year?
50 Shades Darker. The one we're covering is 50 Shades Darker, and the next one is 50 Shades Freed.
Ah.
What does that mean?
Anyway, hi, I'm Sol, and you've just heard Calvin Dyson.
That's me.
And I think Alan had a word there or two.
Me? Did I say something?
I think you mumbled something. And together, the three of us, why, we're Diminishing Returns!
Yay.
Or
Yay.
the gang who host it. That's the show you're listening to, Diminishing Returns.
So, yeah, we're looking at the second 50 Shades film. We looked at the first one last year, because somehow they're doing a remarkable job at churning these out like one a year, which is something.
Is that remarkable?
To say they've had some, production issues, from what I can gather.
What are the production issues? I don't know anything about this.
I think E.L. James is the production issue.
Just as a note,
hail?
if you
I
can hear it, it is hailing rather significantly hard at the moment, so if
I
listeners can hear that.
Yeah, wow.
I'm over here, so.
It's, man, there's some big hailstones. Bloody hell.
So, in anticipation of 50 Shades Freed, we're looking at 50 Shades Darker. Right, which is the second film. Sol, you mentioned production issues. What were the ones that you heard about? Because I just heard that E.L. James was a bit of a...
Twat.
I can't think of a word that isn't libelous.
Well, there's that.
I think she really wants the films to remain faithful to her artistic vision. And herein lie the problem.
Yeah. I was just under the impression that the director of the first film didn't really have a great time with it and was hitting a lot of conflict with the likes of E.L. James and with regards to what the film should and could be, and E.L. James was given a lot of creative power over the project, presumably as part of their willing agreement to do it in the first place.
So, because I think we all agreed in our last review. Yes, I think we all agreed in our last review that as bad as the film was, it couldn't really be blamed necessarily on the director. Sam Taylor Johnson, who was an interesting choice. I think we all agreed that some of the shots were quite beautiful and some scenes were quite well staged and shot and all that. It's just when you tell a screenwriter that they can't divert at all from what is written in a very terrible book, then of course they're gonna leave. And I think that part of the frustration for Sam Taylor Johnson was that she had an idea. Whether or not that would have been any better, maybe not, but it had a hard time being much worse than what we got. So, Sam Taylor Johnson, interesting choice for director. They replaced her with James Foley.
Who directed, among other things, Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yes.
So he's also good.
Well, looking at his other... He seems to have worked mainly in TV for the past 10 years. He directed episode of Hannibal, plenty of House of Cards, Wayward Pines, and looking at his filmography,
That's
Glenn
high
Ross,
quality TV.
It's very good TV, but then when I look at some of his other films, like Perfect Stranger was the last feature he directed, which was just, thrillers with movie stars that are middle budget. He seemed to sort of specialise in those, but they were never terribly well acclaimed.
He does come across like a hired gun.
Yeah, that's where I was leading. He seems very much, this guy needs a break, and he can probably make the film look good, and he'll stick to budget and not piss off E.L. James too much.
And he's available to start production immediately.
Yes, exactly.
Real drive self.
But they also changed the screenwriter, because for the first film it was Kelly Marcel, who I don't know especially well, but she did Saving Mr. Banks, and is to do the upcoming Cruella film, the live-action Cruella film for Disney.
Oh, okay.
And they replaced her with a guy who doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so I don't know what else he's done. But again, that just strikes me as a move to sort of hire someone who's just gonna sort of, oh wait, what? Oh god. Sorry, I just Googled him. He's E.L. James's husband. Oh, well, there we go then. That's,
Oh!
Really? Can we confirm that? That seems unbelievable. Really.
This can't be... He is a drama and comedy screenwriter, but a lot of television credits, Wire in the Blood, Silent Witness, Hornblower. Huh. Wow.
They probably just thought
goodness.
He's cheap.
Wow.
It's going to cause the least friction in terms of production, so it'll be nice and cheap from that point of view. We won't be doing loads of rewrites to satisfy E.L. James. And at this point, they're all shit anyway, and who cares? It's going to make the money it's going to make, so just whatever. I think the first film, they might have gone into it genuinely attempting to make something legitimate.
Yeah. Well, this is the problem, because when I look at all the producing names and stuff, it's like I don't see much of a example of a driving force behind it, apart from E.L. James, and I think that's just where your problem is. You're not going to get... I don't know if maybe they just don't care. It's like they can release whatever and slap this, title on, and it's going to make money.
I'm just looking at this guy's CV. It just looks like he works for ITV.
Well, he probably does. E.L. James, as I pointed out in our last episode, appears to have been a production manager of television. I think, Have I Got News for You, among other things. So she probably did just meet him at ITV or the BBC or wherever. That does kind of suggest they just don't care anymore. They've given up and just go, okay, if E.L. James wants it to be the same as those shitty books, then let it be it.
They made shit tons of money anyway. They're quite cheap.
What did we give the first one out of 10? Was it Universal? I gave it 1 out of 10.
I think I was probably around the 3 mark. I can't remember exactly where. I didn't go back and rewatch it.
I gave it 4.
So just to set the tone for what we think of this franchise going into the second film.
Yeah. And obviously we're not the target audience for this, so...
We can also objectively say that it's shit.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Screw that. Yeah, because I was reading other reviews in this. I'll get into this later on, but I really went out of my way to try and find reviews by ordinary people who actually quite liked it. And not a 10 out of 10 obsessive fan level, but people who were genuinely 7 out of 10, yeah, it was alright, just to see what that was like. But so many of the reviews that I saw and read would begin with, well, I'm not the target audience for this. But actually, you know what? Screw that. It's just because you're not a target audience for something doesn't mean that you can't find some enjoyment in it.
It might mean you're less forgiving of it.
Yeah, damn right, Alan.
I'm not the target demographic of a whole load of sappy... What?
Did you just trap a puppy's foot in the door?
I was getting into position and I banged my knee on the desk.
It's one for the blooper reel.
Well, when we looked at 50 Shades of Grey last year, still available on dimreturns.com, obviously that was because this sequel was coming out. I saw the sequel. I didn't pay to see it because you got to draw a line somewhere. It was... just as shit as the first one, really.
Yeah.
And usually if we do something like this, a year later, I would go back and rewatch it and refresh my memory a little bit. But obviously, I just couldn't bring myself to do that, so I didn't watch it again. But I did read the review I wrote last year, so I've kind of refreshed my memory slightly. So, when did you guys watch it?
I didn't watch this when it came out. I watched it 2 days ago or something. It's fresh in my mind, and it's not very good.
Yeah, it was a recent one for me as well.
If you guys watched it recently, let me just throw in my general comments, because I'm not talking about specific scenes or anything. It was a bit frustrating because it has these little moments, these little flashes of emotional truth of a type you don't really see in usual sort of movie romance stories, but they never go anywhere, they never follow them up. These films are generally, literally and metaphorically, they're about a lot of kind of fumbling foreplay and then a quick finish. It's like there's a lot of build up to things and then kind of not much comes of it, and that in the actual sex scenes as well. my other problems with it, there's no conflict in their relationship. They start out together and then they're together all the way through. There's these little external factors that are dropped in to try and kind of be a problem, and they never really go anywhere.
The conflict is kind of the worst bit of hack writing imaginable. Someone just shows up with a gun, like, I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah.
But then even she's dealt with in like 5 minutes. It's like, right, go on, move on.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I wrote terrible writing in my notes. That's one of the things I got.
No, it really is. It feels very much like a middle part of a trilogy where nothing happens and it should have just been 2 films. It just feels like the middle 20 minutes from a film.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I thought, yeah. Because I don't know if maybe someone somewhere could have made a semi-decent, no pun intended with semi, but a semi-decent adaptation of, like, putting all these 3 books together and making them work as, like, one film.
Yeah.
Because I with the first one as well, just felt like it was all so stretched out. I was feeling like I was just seeing Act 1 of something, and this just felt like Act 2.
I'd say it just felt like film material from the middle of a film that would have been the lull in the middle of the film anyway, but at least it wouldn't have taken up too much time.
There's just so much boring. Like, I think I was in, quite a hearty mood when I watched it, so I think, but this is the kind of film that if I was in a bad mood going into it, it would have just made me hate everything watching it, because it just doesn't go anywhere. Nothing happens. It's just a lot of talking and the occasional sex scene, which isn't terribly sexy.
My initial notes on it are along the lines of, it's a step up from the first one. That opinion faded as it became clear absolutely nothing was going to happen. But I do think that this one is... towards the end of the film, I think I put my finger on it. I think the performances are a hell of a lot stronger in this film. I think the actors seem more comfortable with what they're doing. Like, they kind of understand what the hell they're supposed to be making a little bit now. And I don't know if that's down to a change in director. The guys made Glengarry Glen Ross, which would certainly suggest he's an actor's director to me. I don't know. It just felt like the cast were a lot more comfortable in this one, and it went a long way towards making me hate it slightly less.
Well, this is a film that relies on chemistry between your 2 leads, and not just on screen, but also you film in a lot of stuff that could be very uncomfortable and awkward. So if they've known each other for a couple of years and perhaps they're friendly, perhaps that just helps. It makes them more comfortable with each other. It makes the whole thing a little bit kind of less tense on set or whatever. Maybe it's just simple as that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, my notes are, and I've already forgotten this, but apparently the film opens with a flashback to someone as a kid being abused. Is that the implication being it's Christian Grey, and that's why he likes getting spanked? Is that right? I
think it's just like he had a shitty childhood.
I think they mentioned this in the first one, because I think I had a similar note about conversations he had with Anastasia in the first one. I don't know if it draws the line between him having an abusive childhood and him being into his BDSM now, but they are 2 things that,
It's a very specific thing to open the film on, the character we know as a child being spanked specifically, without intentionally drawing that line. I think it must be an intended parallel that they're drawing. It strikes me like an odd one, because I don't think there's much of a correlation between if you're spanked as a child and if that gets you off in later life or not. Is there?
Alan?
I don't know if I've ever spanked adults. I'm a sadist, not a masochist.
Oh.
I'm not really a sadist. I'm a dominant, but not a sadist.
You're a nihilist.
I am, yeah, that's true.
By which I mean your favourite character in Frasier is Niles.
Well, E.L. James's husband is called Niall, so she's
Oh.
a nihilist as well.
So off
Right.
the bat, there's a lot more. Anastasia seems a lot more fully formed in this one, and a lot more willing to be like, Chris, will you fuck off, mate? I'm not into this, or just grow up. Like she seems to have matured a bit since the last film. Certainly at the start. Like he orders for her like that power move right at the start when they go for dinner, and he's like, we'll have a steak, 2 steaks. And she's like, no, I'm having a salad actually, dickhead.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Would you ever, or have you ever, order for food for someone else? Well, I don't even know what the purpose of it is. Not even as a power move, but I don't know. Why would you do that? It wouldn't even occur to me to do that.
I would only do that if I was in a restaurant and I knew it well, and the person I was with didn't know, and they said, oh, will you just please order something for me because...
I've never had Liberian food before.
Yeah, I'm too scared, so you just do it for me. Or if we'd spoken about it before and they'd said, oh, I'll just have what you're having. So then I'd be like, oh, can we have 2 of this?
I only do it if they go, I'm going to go to the toilet. If the waiter comes over, get me get me a whatever.
Yeah, but you probably have an indication of what they're after. It's like, I mean, I've only ever suggested to people, maybe if like I knew a place well, oh, well, that's good here and that's not. And
But that's it, there's a world of difference between him. It's not like he says to Anastasia, oh, you have to try the steak here. It's the best steak you'll ever have. It's not like he says that. He just says, 2 steaks, without asking her.
is it a bit of an old-fashioned thing?
Well, that's it. I think it is supposed to be like the gentleman will order.
Maybe it just comes across like he's a knobhead who's come from money and hasn't lived in the real world, which works. It makes sense within the context of the film.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure if it's what's intended, but the fact that she pushes back against it makes me think maybe it is. And that's more critical depth than was ever given in the first film. And there's a lot of little moments like that in the second one, which, I don't know, maybe it's this new... Maybe the husband's taking little digs at his wife's writing.
Can I ask another question? Have you ever pulled a chair out for a lady, or well, whatever in your case, Calvin?
Oh, I feel like I must have done that in one form or another. Like,
And not in a kind of my grandma needs a bit of help sitting down kind of way, but like in a romantic, like I'm being a gentlemanly gesture kind of way.
Not in a romantic way, but
But it's a kind of a bit of a move.
I think I've only done it in a sort of like, oh, your hands are full kind of way, or maybe a sort of jokey way, or maybe if I was like entertaining people and I was sort of saying like, oh, these chairs are like, sit, pull out the chairs for people to sit on. But I don't think I'd like
In that kind of classic, a gentleman pushes the seat in for the lady kind of way.
I don't think
I don't think
Which again, I think is very old-fashioned.
I don't think I've ever done it without a raised eyebrow in a sort of, well, we're in a posh environment, so I'm doing this, but know that I'm doing it ironically. I've done that, probably.
Do you know where that comes from? I think, as far as I know, this might not be true, but as far as I know, that comes from when ladies wore big bustles. The big things they have on the arse. So basically, it was very difficult to sit down unaided, and that's why you needed someone to push the chair into you, kind of thing.
if you push them in like that, you can eat your meal without worrying that they're gonna get up and run away because it's like tucking them in really tight.
Is that a problem for you in dates? Okay, have you ever opened a car door for a lady?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever got out of a car, walked around and opened the door to let them out?
Only if they were being very slow.
It's just like, take the hint, mate. Let's get out.
If they've like had their hands full of shopping bags or something.
No, I mean as a romantic gesture.
No.
Good. It would never occur to me to do that. It's just weird. It's a very weird thing to do.
I'm wondering if we should sum up the plot of this film. We haven't really done it yet.
What
but there's really
plot
not
is there?
that much going on. Anastasia left Christian at the end of the last film, but she quickly gets back with him here.
And why? Because his bondage was a bit too extreme, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm into it actually," and he was sort of like, "All right."
Which says to me, well, he needs to find someone else then, because she's obviously not giving him what he wants.
But he loves her,
And I'm not sure if she's even giving him... I don't get much of a sense of... I feel like he's just pursuing her for the sake of it. I think he likes the chase rather than... I don't get a sense of her being what he needs rather than what he wants.
He's used to getting whatever he wants, and she said no, Chris, and that drives him wild.
Well, and that's not a good enough reason to get back with him. Anyway, they just have scenes talking, and it's like, oh, I want to do this to you. No, don't do that. Oh, okay.
They reconcile because he buys her a present, and that makes her kiss him.
Yeah, I can't. There's so much of this film just like washes over you because it's. I know that nothing is ever going to come back. Nothing's being set up to pay off later on. It's just it feels like it was just written a rambling like once. E.L. James sat down one night and just rambled the whole thing off, and that was it. It doesn't feel like it was plotted or thought through. Anyway, but there is stuff in here about like Christian has a stalker who is a previous lover, and she like appears, and but she's hardly in any scenes. And I thought based on the trailer that this film was going to have more of a thriller vibe to it.
Yeah. Yes, they'd suggested that.
Yeah, and that just doesn't lead to anything.
He does a lot of shitty power move type things, though, throughout the film. It seems to be a lot more apparent that he's a knobhead in this film. That's the thing, actually. Are we meant to like Christian Grey? Or are we meant to think, what a knobhead?
No, we're definitely meant to like him. We're meant to want to be in bed with him.
Are we, though? Because scenes like when he says, he's like, here, have this money. And she goes, mate, that's way too much money. It's like 25 grand or something. And he's like, I make that in like 15 minutes, you stupid twat. and she's like, understandably annoyed with him because it's like a really arrogant thing to say. And then she's like, Chris, I'm not having it, mate. We're not having that dynamic where you're paying me 20 grand to like spend the night with you. And he's like, right, I've just wired the money into your account. Fuck you. It's really shitty behaviour. And I can't imagine we're not meant to think it's shitty behaviour, because Anastasia Steele certainly thinks it's shitty behaviour. And I think we're meant to be on her side and agreeing that it's shit and he's being a twat. So are we meant to like him? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, we're meant to want to see him confront his demons and his past and all that.
Are you sure? Are we meant to fancy him even though he's like a dickhead and we're not actually meant to like him very much?
Yeah, because he's flawed. I mean, he's very flawed.
Because we think we can fix him.
Yes.
You know when she gets all that money, does she take it all out in cash and give it to a tramp?
She spends it at a charity auction or something.
Yeah, she should have just given it all in cash to a tramp.
She should have kept it.
I would have.
She should have been like, oh, cheers. How about you give me $1 million and I'll suck you off?
Suck your cock.
And he'd be like, $1 million? Well, I make that in 45 minutes. And she'd be like, yeah, all right. Give me $2 million then. And he'd be like, fine. And then she'd be like, right, see ya. And retire.
Or she could marry him and get half in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
That's the third film, by the way. Sorry, spoiler alert. This was another thing that just annoyed me about this film. This story is all about Anna making Christian normal. I'm doing air quotes for that. Like fixing him, basically, in society's eyes. Because if you don't want to get married and settle down, then you must be a freak.
Just because he likes a bit of bloody spanking, it's not that extreme.
The only reason it seems a bit more extreme is because he can afford all the toys and set a whole room up for it, which most people can't, so they just buy a couple of dildos and a whip. Or whatever.
Yeah, if I could have a whole room like that, boy, would I.
My notes basically say that I feel as though this film is trying to say the right thing, that like women aren't property and all that sort of stuff, but it's just doing like a really cack-handed job of it.
I don't know if is it trying to say anything? I don't know if it's. I don't know what the point of anything is, quite frankly.
You remember when they say something like, what do you want, a roadmap for our relationship? And then he takes off his top and gives her some lipstick and she draws lipstick all over him. Is that sexy?
I thought it kind of was, actually.
Because he took his top off, is that?
No, he takes his top off quite a lot. It's just the there's something about the lipstick and drawing on the body and everything. That was the only moment.
Drawing on the body?
Well, she is, isn't she? She's like...
No, I know. I just mean, is that sexy for you?
Well,
if she wrote "fuck pig" on his chest, that would have been sexy.
No, I just there's something quite intimate about it, and it's honestly the only time in either of these films that it made me a little bit hot under the collar, shall we say. But then, like I say, I was in a very happy mood that day. So.
Lipstick face.
I was going to say it might be one of the least sexy parts for me, the one that made me like shrivel up and jump up inside my chest. I don't know. I was just thinking about, oh man, that's going to be a nightmare to wash out. Like, you're going to get that on the sheets.
But he's got staff.
No,
You don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, but it's going to be all over him in the shower. He's going to have like a really vigorous shower. Where
It's
he's
greasy as well.
I
It
got
doesn't come off easily.
I was using a printer the other day, and I like picking it up. I got a load of printer ink all over my leg. It's a friggin' nightmare washing it off, scrubbing it off. Probably still.
That just sounds horrible.
Yeah, Calvin's got half a chub on just hearing that story.
Can we talk about the sex scenes broadly?
Were there as many?
I was expecting more.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? I felt like there was less. I didn't feel like they were as intimate. They felt more like just standard movie sex scenes, really.
It felt very much like they knew they had to put some in there, because that's what the people have come for. But yeah, they just felt very... Yeah.
Which again just makes me... I just don't know who these films are for. I don't get anything. I'm not even getting titillation apart from when she gets the lipstick out.
Well, is anybody seeing them? Do they sell tickets? I don't know. Did it do well?
This one made $380 million at the box office.
American.
The first one made even more.
But that was a lot of hype there, and that's why I was just thinking, like, did the second one just have a big drop off?
Well, yeah. I mean, it made like 2/3 of what the first one did. But then when you think of the budgets and how much these cost, they're not actually that costly, so that's fine.
What was the budget, do you know, for this one?
55 million.
Ooh. Where's that gone?
Well, there is a spectacular helicopter crash.
I forgot about that. Does he crash the helicopter and then there are no consequences whatsoever?
Yeah,
because that was the only external conflicts that I was talking about, where there's this big hubbub that, oh my god, he could be dead, and then 5 minutes later he's like, no, I'm all right.
Yeah, no, it is literally just because that's the point where he's proposed, if I'm right. Then he buggers off in his helicopter, and they think he might be dead, and then he turns up, and then she says yes. And that's sort of it, really.
Can I just rattle off my last 6 viewing notes from this film? Because one of them is... So, right, the last 6 are... Holy fuck, I'm only 50 minutes in. Are you fucking kidding me? Then, the fuck is this gun shit?
Oh, yes.
Wait, helicopter, what? And then I've written down some quotes. Be mine, share my life with me. Yes, marry me. Like, what the fuck does he think the first bit meant? He, like, proposes to her. He says, be mine, share my life with me. She goes, yes. And then he goes, marry me. Like, she didn't understand.
He's a very insecure chap, though, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
And then my last 2 notes are, was there any plot in this film?
No.
Failing that, was there any character?
Oh. And, what's her name's in it? Kim Basinger. She just pops up, and she's the
She's the older woman.
Yeah, the Mrs. Robinson sort of woman that Christian was having a fling with when he was a teenager. And that again doesn't really. It's like it's out there, and then there's a little argument at the end. She fucks off, and that's it. Yeah, it's just nothing really good. I don't care if any of it pays off in the third film. I'm assuming it's going to.
What is there in this film? If you just cut this entire film from a viewing of the trilogy, what would you need to like recap to make the third one make sense?
Them getting married, I guess.
Gandalf has died but come back white.
I mean, there's this new boss that Anastasia has, Jack Hyde, and the film ends on a cliffhanger with him.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Or is he a bit handsy in the office?
Yeah, he assaults her at one point, which again just comes out of nowhere.
And doesn't really go anywhere. Like Chris goes, I'll kill him. And she's like, no, don't kill him. And he's like, all right.
He likes being told what to do, though, doesn't he?
But then the film ends on a cliffhanger with him swearing revenge and burning a picture of Christian with a cigarette. So that's.
I bet that'll get resolved in the first 10 minutes of the next film.
Well, that's just it. But I don't have faith in it to do anything especially thrilling with that setup. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. He's just gonna turn it with a gun again, like Christian Stalker did in this film, and nothing really happens.
Yeah. Anyway, so this pool scene, they're playing pool and all that, and then it just ends with them having a shag really quickly. It's like you have this build up, and then it just goes nowhere.
Well, the shag is somewhere, isn't it? Or we're supposed to think it is, and
they shag every night. That's what they do.
Well, I guess it's sort of like, I mean, I think we're supposed to think of it as like in an action film when you need, action every so many minutes. A slasher film, you need a kill every so many minutes.
Yeah, once every 10 pages.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when it's with the same people and they're more or less doing the same things,
and none of it is bondage.
Yeah. Shall I singled out a couple of reviews that I found on IMDb,
Ooh.
which were sort of middle of the road. Like, I didn't go for any of the 1 out of 10s, of which there were many.
So these aren't professional critics, they're like
no.
IMDb
These
user reviews, okay.
These are the ones that I picked out that I saw that sounded like the most genuine. So I don't think they're especially funny, but they seemed like genuine people who actually quite liked this film. Like, I didn't go for any of the 10 out of 10, this is the best movie ever made things, but people who just gave it a fair score, just to see what that was like.
Well, is 7 out of 10 a fair score?
Well, this particular user who reviewed it on the 10th of February 2017, who rated it 7 out of 10, but then headed their review with 7.5 out of 10. So this was their review. Never read the books and didn't see the first one, but really wanted to see a movie this weekend, and this looks like the best bet. My wife and I sat in the last row, cuddled, giggled, and enjoyed the movie immensely. I was even a bit teary-eyed in 2 of the scenes. Thought it would run for another 20 to 25 minutes when it ended, but felt the ending was perfect anyway, and they set up the third movie nicely. I'd give it 7.5 out of 10 if that were allowed. For what it is, a softcore porn type of suspense film, it deserves that rating. Not 4.5. Sorry, IMDb users. I'm trusting you less and less all the time. And Rotten Tomatoes too. 8%? Really? What were the movie... sorry, this sentence doesn't make any sense. What movie did they think they were going to see? Anyway, so that just sounds like that's coming from someone who has, genuinely liked it.
I've just gone on the IMDb user reviews to try and find a really funny positive review, and I've scrolled down. The first 20 reviews that came up are 1 out of 10.
Oh, it was very hard to get to a middling score.
The 21st review is 2 out of 10. Oh, and now we're back to 1 out of 10. 2, 1. Oh, I've got to load another bloody page. 1 out of 10, mediocre. I think this person might want to...
Is mediocre 1 out of 10?
That's
at least a 4.
Grasp on the language. God, these are all 1 and 2 out of 10. There hasn't... Oh, there's a 3. 3 out of 10. It wasn't as bad as the first one? Question mark. 2 out of 10. Good camera work. 2 out of 10. 50 Shades of rubbish.
Oh, very good.
Oh, God, I can't believe how few... Oh, my God, 10 out of 10. I found one, finally.
Oh.
When I seen 50 Shades of Grey, I thought even though it didn't stay too true to the book, it was a very good movie. Then Darker came out. I waited 2 years since the first movie, and to me, it was way worth the wait. I freaking loved this movie. The characters seem more comfortable with each other. Yeah, that's what I said. And the acting of Anna was much better. I was impressed, and Christian put on some weight. And the sex scene, oh my God, I just blushed again. Blushing emoticon, smiling emoticon. I truly enjoyed this film, but I do recommend people, if you're not, that's the wrong if you're not into BDSM and you haven't read the books, then don't see this film. I didn't know you could do emoticons in IMDb user reviews, but apparently you can.
You found a way. But you know that person, the person who wrote that review, in a democratic system, their vote counts as much as yours do. So that's why I don't believe in democracy.
9 out of 10. Fun chick flick.
The
Christian Grey character now has a scruffy face. I'm not a fan.
Oh, I read this.
But a lot of people liked that look. The problem is, the scruff varied wildly in the film, both in length and colour. Now, if the time period between scenes was days or weeks, this isn't a problem. If the time period is a few hours, there should be little change. I found I could tell when episodes were filmed just by looking at the scruff. The makeup department wasn't looking at stills from previous filming to match things up. 9 out of 10, fun chick flick.
Just lost that one for the scruff.
Oh, damn you makeup people.
Wow, 10 out of 10, beyond content.
It went beyond content. Or content.
10 out of 10, better than the movie.
What?
I don't know. Can I do another review?
Oh, go on. One more.
7 out of 10. It was better! Be more open-minded. Stop being so harsh. That's the title. I can't believe I am writing a review, but after I read the books, I was very disappointed by the first movie. It had nothing. But the second movie was better! However, if most of you keep rating it a 1, means that you cannot accept that something bad can become good. I went to the movie and I've said to myself that everyone is laughing / criticizing / hating it because they all expect a masterpiece of whatever they believe it should be. But do not think for 1 second that the movie is mainly how the book is. Books are not complex, and the adventurous part is kinda missing. Thus, this movie tried to make the best of it, with some errors, though. 1. It did create emotion, and it was sexy. Anna was sexy! Christian was okay. Also, they cannot focus much on his character, because the books are always about Anna. Anna. 2. It was funny. Some stupid dialogues, which could have been replaced or shortened, but it also had scenes that made you smile and see that they tried to do better. 3. There is vanilla sex in this part of the movies because this is how the book is. The kinky / dark part was in the first book, which, as we know, the movie failed to bring it. Number 4.
So it doesn't even get any more. It doesn't even get any sort of raunchier for the third one.
I don't know. Oh, this is the second.
Is it?
I don't know. Number 4. Stop being so harsh! This is it. If you have better suggestions, maybe you could state what you wanted instead of repeating how shitty it was.
Well,
And I'm not a big fan of 50 Shades, and I would not write this if I didn't feel it deserves it. This was a normal movie. Not bad, not wow, but yeah, it was worth seeing it! ! And it deserves a chance and an open mind. 7 out of 10. So that's your sort of nuanced, middle of the road opinion.
Yeah. I just don't meet people that like these. That
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met someone who openly admits to liking the books or films in any capacity whatsoever. I guess Alan's mum was.
no, she said they were shit.
Ah, fair enough.
I believe my mum described them as daft, but she still read all 3.
See, my mum wouldn't even touch them in the first place. She'd sort of turn her nose up and be like, "Oh no, that's beneath me," kind of to begin with. But as we know, she's never watched porn, so
we do actually know that, don't we? My mum thought it was illegal.
It might be. It depends what you were looking at.
Might have seen internet history of me looking at things when I was about 15, 16.
What were the search words? Come on.
Was this the Octopussy search?
Oh, yes. And she got very upset because she thought that porn was illegal. Yeah, no, I didn't even get angry at 50 Shades Darker. Sorry, I keep forgetting which one's fucking which. It's like they're just all the bloody same.
I found it a far less offensively awful film than the first one, even though it was really bad. There's an argument that it's worse. I don't know if it is. I think it's ever so slightly better. I don't know.
I think it's worse, but I don't know if that's just because I knew what to expect coming in. So like with 50 Shades of Grey, it was easier to go in with an open mind, whereas with this, it's like. And the third one, knowing that they kept the same creative team, is just going to be more of the same.
It hasn't even inspired a good discussion from us. It's just, this is shit.
Calvin, what about if there was Mila Jovovich? but it turned out she was actually biologically male.
That'd be fine.
Would you be into that?
Yeah.
I think I'd be into that.
More or less than a normal man? Not that it's not normal, but, well, no, it is.
Is she going to top or bottom?
Whatever you want. Probably a bit of both, I would have thought. In the gay community, do people choose one or the other and stick to it?
Because
it's always struck me like if you're going to do that, do it both. Have a bit of all, you know.
Well, it is, you know what, I think people feel like they need to assign themselves a specific role.
Is that so that you know what position to get into when you're in the height of passion?
I think it just...
Because you can't be discussed
on,
at the time.
I think, you know, we're all human beings and we like to put things in boxes and label things. So, you know, it's...
I've got a question for you, Calvin.
Okay, go on.
What would you rather have? Mia Jovovich with a cock or Zac Efron with a vagina?
Oh, that is a very good question.
Wouldn't it be Zac Efron with a vagina, surely? Because that's basically a man, but you've just kind of got easier...
Yeah, it's missing a very crucial part to the sexual process.
Yeah, it would depend on the day, to be perfectly honest. Zac Efron would still have a bum, wouldn't he?
Yeah, of course he would.
Yeah, but
he might be less willing to...
He's very uptight about it. He doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Oh, Mila, then.
Only after a bottle of wine on your birthday.
Mila.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's interesting. Yeah.
That is interesting. That is very interesting. Yeah. So the cock is the important part for you then. It's not like the face or the...
Well, no, you said that Zac Efron was really uptight about it. So,
so it's the arsehole.
Well, let's not dissect this too much. But I was just seeing what my options would be.
But you've never put it in a vagina either. I mean, have you?
Yeah, because they're fucking terrifying. I've seen pictures.
Oh God!
Have you never seen one face to face? Then have you never been confronted with the whispering eye?
Is that a name for it?
Yeah.
Why
means
does
vagina.
It whisper? Why does it whisper?
Oh, didn't you know about that?
Oh, is that the queefing?
Anyway, so what's the closest you ever came, Calvin, to a vagina, apart from your birth?
It's probably with that girl that me and Sol lived with in university. I know her name. I'm just not using it to protect the innocent. And even then, that probably wasn't.
What did she do to you, Calvin?
Did she ever like grind on you?
Oh yeah,
because I remember one day she came in like all drunk and like climbed on top of me in bed and was like, like jokingly, and I was like, no, don't grind on that because you're like friction's happening and it's like, and she was like, oh yeah, she thought it was funny and just started grinding further. Yeah. And it was really awkward because it's like, well, I could just let this happen and enjoy it, you realise, but I'm too like, so I panicked and like,
I think that's technically sexual assault if she was Harvey Weinstein. Then...
Well, it's a weird thing because, you know,
she was trying to dole on you.
I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have, like, opposed if it weren't for the fact that it wasn't, like, consensual on her part because she was doing it as a joke, if that makes sense. So there's layers to it that make it difficult.
Maybe Harvey was just doing it as a joke.
So cut that out. Just cut that out.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know how you could come into a potted plant without there being an air of humour to it. Right? It's not like, even if it's only after you've done and you sort of look at yourself and just
what am I
with
doing?
Your massive hairy hands. Do you think his hands are so big that they like cover the cock entirely?
Oh,
or do you think it pokes out the end like a little mouse? He's got like hobbit feet hands. I'm sure this is libelous, so come at me, Harvey. But not like that. I ain't no potted plant. Am I right, guys?
Wasn't it a woman on the other side of the potted plant?
Probably. It was in a restaurant, wasn't it? She wouldn't like do something with him, so he just wanked off into a plant, which is like, what is that?
Don't know what kind of plant was it.
Do you think when he was doing? Do you think he got right up into the plant and the plant was like shaking when he? Or do you think it was like projectile from far away?
Well, I was about to say, just he's bound to have had a bit of dribble on his hands, and they're so hairy that would have been a bit of something to clean up.
What do you mean a bit of dribble? Do you mean he must have spat on his hand to like
No.
get things going?
No.
Oh, I know. Sorry, of course. Yeah, that sort of dribble, right? Of course, the man is a monster. we're mocking him to bring him down to
our level.
Much like Charlie Chaplin made The Great Dictator, we are recording this now.
Yeah.
This is satire.
Anyway, I'm still intrigued by this whole man with a vagina, woman with a penis thing.
I'd definitely prefer a woman with a penis.
Well, this is it. If I had to pick between the two, I'd absolutely go Mila Jovovich with a cock. So I just find that interesting that you're going for the.
Do you have any weird sex things to talk about, Alan? You're always full of these things.
What do you want to know?
I don't know, really. Have you been with a chick with a dick? What's it like?
I haven't. No, I haven't. No, I would like to though.
I'll tell you what. If one of those comes up on the Tinder, I'll be right up for that. And what were the other one? The old women. Because I'm progressive. I don't exclude.
Yeah.
What? Redheads?
No, I was just wondering because it's a big thing in the LGBT community about like, when you see profiles that say, no blacks, no whatever, then how inherently sort of racist that is. If it's the other way round, is that, I don't know.
What, no whites?
It's weird. Well, no. I mean like just blacks,
I mean, obviously it is like by dictionary definition, it is racism because it's excluding a person based on their blah 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 blah. At the same time, I don't think you can criticize someone for not being attracted to someone based on physical characteristics. That's what physical attraction comes down to, isn't it?
That's my sort of take on it. The attitude that I get is that no, that's still racist, and it's sort of like, well,
ideally everyone would be attracted to everyone, but
do people put on their things no blacks?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, maybe that's the thing. Maybe you'd be a bit more tactful.
I mean, even if I was thinking that, I wouldn't put it on a thing. Like, I would just not match with any black guys. When I'm on Tinder, a lot of women will put on their, you've got to be over 6 foot or whatever. I'm 5'10", so I need people who are tall, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but I don't know, but putting it out there just seems such a sort of negative attitude to put out. And I just think if I put on my thing, I only want people under 8 stone 7.
Redheads only.
Like, it'd be like, that's why I want weight categories on Tinder. It's
none of those fucking strawberry blonde and all that bullshit. Like proper
gingers,
proper redheads.
What do you think about redheads, Calvin? Because for my money, I love redhead women, but redhead on men, it's just disgusting. What do you think?
Yeah, and that's if I was designing my perfect woman, it would be a redhead, I think.
And the worst man, it would also be
a redhead with a Scottish accent who cuts piles of After Eights in half and then wraps them in cling film and puts them in the fridge for later.
It's funny, isn't it? We call redheaded women redheads, but with it's men, it's just gingers.
Well, I never really used the word redhead, to be honest with you. I'd say ginger.
It's never really been a consideration for me, if I'm perfectly honest. Maybe ginger pubes would be weird. I don't know.
Have you laid with a gingerman?
I don't know if I have.
Because they're less common. And if I was a gingerman, I'd be or a gay gingerman, I think I'd be very self-conscious of the fact and would consider dyeing my hair and things like that. Although, I don't know, can
we give ratings now? It's getting late.
Yeah. I mean, I gave the first one a 1 out of 10. I give this one a 1 out of 10 as well. It's pretty much exactly the same. I think I found it slightly less unbearable, but it's not a lot in it.
It's a 2 out of 10 for me, which is, I think, a step down from the first one.
I gave the first one a 4, and I gave this one a 4.
Very good.
So, if we were hired to do the sequel, how would we approach such a task?
I couldn't really be bothered to come up with a proper pitch because there's nothing here. So I'll just come up with a load of silly concepts based on the name. This is a Sol, trademarked Sol bit. 50 Shades of Blue. Romance blossoms at the International Convention of the Blue Man Group performers. And they can...
I thought it was going to be like a political thing, but no. Literally the Blue Man.
I thought it was going to be something about blue balls, where like Christian Grey is not allowed to climax, and she's doing like a domination thing, and he's.
But yeah, they've got the beauty of the Blue Man Group is that they're all percussionists, and they paddle little things all the time. So I mean, it writes itself. 50 Shades of Orange. And then just put insert joke about Donald Trump. So that's as far as I got with that one. So if you can make anything work with that. Donald Trump is orange, that's your joke. Shifty Fades of Grey. But I couldn't figure out what a shifty fade is.
Shifty Fade sounds like a name of a Cockney con artist.
It sounds like a spiritual sequel to your, what was it called? Wafty Crank?
Yes, indeed. Indeed. I've got 50 Shades of White. That's just Love Actually.
Satire.
Take that.
Richard Curtis.
50 Grades of Pay. That's a documentary into wage inequality in the private sector. Shifty Aids of May. That's just about the Conservative cabinet. Politics.
Where does the AIDS come into it?
AIDS with a
government AIDS.
Yes. Okay, one more. It's this is what I've got a bit of a plot for this one. I like this one. It's called 50 Spades Are Gay. In which
David Spade?
David Spade finds himself cloned in an experiment gone wrong 50 times. And the 50 clones are released into the world, but they're all homosexual and they like to show it. And it's just when his new fiance's father is coming to town. And the father-in-law is an old school religious type. But then the film ends happily with the father-in-law revealing at the wedding that he is actually gay. And I want the father-in-law to be played by either Al Pacino or Robert De Niro. But I did think the David Spade clones should be played by Rob Schneider. And the fiance is Adam Sandler.
Can the fiance and the fiance's brother both be Adam Sandler?
Of course. Yeah, that's all I had. I couldn't really bother with a real pitch, so I just came up with some silly ones.
Calvin, what about Shift Tree Shades of Grey? And it's
Shift Tree.
It's about
that's a Pokemon.
Yeah, it's about Shift Tree getting into some kinky activities.
That's quite an obscure Pokemon for you to pick.
Well, what Pokemon would you work into the title of 50 Shades of Grey?
Give me a second. I'll think 50 Shades of... There must be a Pokemon that begins with...
What about
Grey?
151 Shades of Original Generation Grey?
Oh, I've got it. 50 Shades of Grey Ninja.
Yeah.
Oh, that should have been my pitch all along.
Shift Tree Shades of Grey Ninja.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, one's a water Pokemon, one's a grass Pokemon. They say it won't work, but...
Star-crossed lovers.
Yeah. Right, can I do my pitch?
Yeah.
This is sort of just a general, like, I think this could happen pitch. So, if I was to make the next one, how much effort would I put into it to make it good, considering what you can get away with and apparently make hundreds of millions of dollars? I'm going to change the title, though. This one's going to be called The Final Shade.
Draw the shades.
Christian and Anna get married in the opening scene of this film, and it's all very happy and stuff, and they have a bit of sex in the chapel, and that's the first 20 minutes of the film.
He starts shoving her head in the font and, like, drowning her while he's fucking her from behind.
Oh, nice, yeah. So then the next 20 minutes is them talking about how great married life is. And this is all going on while we intercut with Jack, the guy from the end of the last film, lurking around windows and on street corners and stuff. So that's the next 20 minutes. Now we introduce a bit of conflict 40 minutes into the film, where Anna reveals that she wants to have children.
Uh-oh.
Christian isn't sure about this, and they fall out. That's 20 minutes. Then Jack appears again and captures Anna and ties her up. And Christian, in a bizarre action sequence moment, much like the helicopter crash in the second one, Christian bursts through the wall of the building in a tank in order to save Anna. Jack jumps on top of the tank and he and Christian have a fight before Christian lodges Jack's head in the tank's cannon and shoots him to pieces. Anna is tied up, so obviously this makes Christian very horny, so they have sex, and that whole bit is about half an hour. Christian decides that he was just being silly about the whole thing, and he does want kids after all.
Of course,
so,
of course he does.
Him and Anna decide to have children, and that's the end of the film.
And can there be a chilling scene at the end where the kid misbehaves, so he, like, puts him on his lap, bends him over his knee, and, like, spanks him for being naughty?
Oh, it's a bit...
With menacing music playing.
No, with sexy music playing.
I've been feeling fine, baby. Hey, you know that song? That Let's Get It On? You know that song was written about alcoholism.
No.
Genuinely.
I didn't know that.
It was written about, like, taking it day at a time, day by day, just trying to get through the day without a drink. Factoid for you.
Huh.
It wasn't a sexy fact. That's what I'm worried about. Can we sex it up a bit?
Tits.
Have you ever? I'm a non-alcoholic myself, but have you guys ever drunk so much that you couldn't perform when called upon?
Probably. I mean, there's definitely moments. Oh,
I believe it of Calvin.
Yeah.
Sol, you're not really a big drinker. Are you? You don't really get.
No,
like,
I don't really. I struggle to get drunk to the point. Like, I don't know if I was ever at the point where I think it would affect me. I probably would be in no state to even want to like try in the first place. So no, I don't think.
I've definitely tried and then given up.
It happens to be a lot. I'm just not drunk. It's just totally different reasons.
I've never had that issue with where I actually want to do it, if that makes sense. It has happened once or twice, but it's sort of been like, yeah, I don't really want to do it actually.
What do you
But
mean? When you haven't been in the mood, do you mean?
Yeah, and I was just
You've
sort of
never
like,
not been in the mood.
What?
What
Well, you
are you
know,
saying?
if you like did it 20 minutes earlier and you were like, oh, let's go again, and then you're like, yeah, actually, I spoke too soon. But even then, to be honest, that isn't how it works for me. Like, it gets up, but then I just can't come for like 5 hours, so it's just really frustrating. So that's my that's how it plays out for me. And alcohol, obviously. Actually, no, I think alcohol might play into that. You know, I don't have that much trouble with the mechanics of it, to be honest. I'm all right.
I have nothing but trouble with mine. It's terrible.
Well, that's the trade-off. You get a big one. I don't, but it works. So.
I think I might maybe fall somewhere down in the middle.
Calvin, we were going to measure ours that time. I was going to draw like the silhouette on a bit of paper, and then you were going to draw the silhouette around it, and we were going to compare. But that never happened, did it?
I think it was the thought of being around while doing it, because you have to be, you know, it's the only way of telling.
It was going to be the whole house, though, wasn't it? And then, because I wanted to put it up on the fridge or something. I think it fell apart because we couldn't figure out how to include the female housemate we mentioned earlier.
Oh, could have been a boob or something.
Oh. I feel like she did do a silhouette of her boob for some reason. Maybe we did. Maybe we started. Maybe she tried to get the ball rolling because she wanted to see the cocks thrown on a bit of paper.
Calvin, have you ever been with someone who was so big it nearly broke you in half?
Okay, someone do a pitch. I mean,
Have either of you ever experienced in real life a micro penis?
yes.
Have you?
Ooh.
Once. Yes.
Every day.
How did they warn you before you got down? No, what was it like a sexual encounter? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And was it like did they go right? Look, just to warn you, I've got a medical condition.
No, there was a problem in that I'd vomited on myself already by the time we got to the front door in the taxi. So and then
fucking disgrace.
couldn't find where our house was. So I had to take off my shirt. So I was just wandering around without a shirt on. And then eventually found it. Was more sick in the toilet then. And then got into bed with it. I didn't show him to my room or anything, so he was just like waiting outside the toilet while I was vomiting. And then we got into bed and stuff was about to happen. I made sure I brushed my teeth. And then I was again sick over the end of the bed. So we put a towel over it and went to sleep. And then woke up in the morning and somehow he was still there.
Oh my God.
And still wanting to do things. And then that was when I came to the realization of what was there.
And like you're not just being glib, it was like literally like tiny little, like an inch or however long.
To the best of my recollection.
How big was it, like, to estimate?
God, I was hungover and I'd vomited over the end of the bed. The room stank. It's amazing what you do when you're a student.
He was clearly very desperate to get whatever he could.
Was he a top or a bottom? Like, what was he pushing for?
You can't be a top if you got a micro penis. Come on.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, but
you know what? I might be exaggerating. I'm gonna Google micro penis now to see what it. Wasn't far off.
I mean, that is
it's
bad
unfortunate.
luck, though, if you got one of those, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, because there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, that's it. Well, have a sex change.
Yeah, just whack a pair of tits on me.
I think that, genuinely, I think I'd consider that if I was... Did you ever do that app that turns you into a woman?
No.
I did it to see what I'd be like as a woman, and, like, genuinely...
Had a wank to it.
I might have tried. Like, genuinely, I think it's my perfect woman. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I kind of fell a bit in love with this version of myself that doesn't exist, except for perhaps in a parallel dimension. It kind of makes me sad to think that it doesn't exist and there's no reality in which I can do anything about it. I literally have masturbated to pictures of myself in a dress before. I mean, that's not...
That wasn't the one that you were wearing when you came in and straddled me, was it?
I'm pretty sure that will... I mean, I think there's been more than one, but yeah, that's bound to be... I think they're all publicly available on Facebook. They're not like, special photo shoots.
So why did you feel like you needed to do that?
Because I was attracted to it. What? It's like a game, though, isn't it? You know?
Just to challenge yourself.
Well, there's an element of that to it, definitely. Have you never tried that? Like, with, once I was having sex and... what's it called? Fiddler on the Roof soundtrack came on, and the man was going tradition, dee 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 dee. Here in this village we love tradition, and talking about their customs. And the challenge became like, can we complete with this happening? And we did eventually.
This is coming from a person who broke up a relationship during sex. So I don't know if you're really a good person to judge these things by.
Oh man, I forgot about that. Oh dear. It's not as bad as it sounds, alright?
It kind of is.
It's not. She pulled it out of me.
What?
She pulled what out of you?
I wasn't intending to.
Oh, you mean
It was a long distance thing.
I was like, what was she doing to you that meant she needed to pull something out?
It was a long distance relationship, and I thought I'll wait until next week so we're on her home turf and she doesn't have to do like an hour train journey back home afterwards. So I'll just be like normal this week and you know, and then she came out in like some lingerie she'd bought to presumably try and like salvage a dying relationship, and I couldn't hide my sort of sad face, and she waited until we got into like penetration and were doing it before going like, yeah, you're not planning to break up with me, are you? And I couldn't lie. So I just sort of went like, well...
I don't know. Of all the times when you could have lied.
Or just been like, can we talk about this later?
Well, no, because that's an obvious yes, isn't it?
That's still better than a yes.
Well, I think that's the... Well, I didn't go yes, I sort of went,
And then she cried.
Yeah.
Is that right? What was the fallout? She just cried.
She tightened up.
Did the crying start while you were still inside her?
The audible crying, certainly. I don't know if any tears came out, but certainly. I don't think I'm a bad person for that. I think I've done worse things than that.
But when she was crying, what did she do while you were finishing yourself off?
Oh god!
So did you have to do that thing where you were like talking for hours and like she was upset? And
because it was nighttime and there weren't any trains running till like 6 a.m. Yeah, it was just a long sort of like, right, well, we've got to ride this out. This is exactly why I was trying to wait until next week to do this. And,
I hope you're happy with yourself.
Yeah, you ruined
stupid cow.
I should probably do my pitch really.
Yeah, it's late.
Right, 50 Shades. Threed. I had an idea for this that I scribbled down last night, but I've come up with 2 more better ideas whilst we've been talking. So it's like 3 not very good ideas that'll hopefully add up to 1.
Okay.
So my initial idea was just burn the franchise, up the ante. Like,
matron. Is that? Up the ante.
Oh my god. There's a market for this kind of erotica, done in a kind of mainstream safe way for middle-aged women and what have you. So let's just cut pretenses. 50 Shades of shit. We can do better than this. Remake one of the classics. Remake Deep Throat. And you could do Debbie Does Dallas or something else, but I've gone with Deep Throat. Do you guys know Deep Throat?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Calvin... Deep Throat is one of the classic like porn films of the like golden age era, whatever it is they call it. What is it, Alan? In like the 70s or whenever it was, when porn was sort of pretending to be a real art form.
I don't know if there's a name for it.
When it was still shown in cinemas, that sort of thing.
Right.
Anyway,
okay,
it was before your video days, isn't it? It's before it became a home medium.
And so it was a film where Linda Lovelace can't orgasm despite trying really, really hard. And she goes to the doctor, and it turns out that she's a freak of nature because her clitoris is located within her throat. So he teaches her the mysterious technique known as deep throating, so that she can then go out and try to find a husband by performing this deep throating act on loads of different men. And hopefully one of them will be so impressed that they want to marry her. And I think Christopher Nolan to direct based on a script written by Aaron Sorkin.
Sounds about right, yeah.
So would you have to soften it up a bit?
I mean, yeah, it can't be hardcore. It's gonna have to be like 50 Shades up, but bit of sex in there. It'll do it. It'll get all the middle-aged women hot under the collar. Do women have collars?
They do if you put a collar on them and put a tail on them and call them puppy.
And I was trying to figure out some casting, but I struggled with this. I don't know if you can help. I thought Jamie Bell might be a good doctor.
Okay.
He's that sort of...
Okay, yeah.
Maybe is it Daniel Kaluuya, the guy from Get Out?
Oh, yeah, she's good.
Maybe get him in there somewhere.
No, would be a good doctor. Stephen Merchant.
Well, he has got a very long throat of his own, so... and who? This is the thing, I can't figure out who to cast in the lead. Like, you'd go for someone like Elizabeth Olsen or Felicity Jones or Emma Watson, but I don't think any of them would do it. And we do need someone with a long neck to make it believable. I've written a name down, but I can't remember who it is, so I'm just going to Google who they actually are. I've written down Cara Delevingne.
Oh, right, yeah. She was in one of my pictures and you didn't know who she was.
She's that one from that... I should have put eyebrows. She's the one from that sci-fi film that didn't do very well.
Valerian.
Yeah. I think we go for her, because she'll probably do it.
She's got very harsh eyebrows.
Yeah, that's a thing though, isn't it? Do you like harsh eyebrows on a man, Calvin?
No.
Well, I don't know. It makes more sense on a man than a woman, surely.
No, because men shouldn't have terribly manicured eyebrows.
I didn't say manicured. I just
Curated.
said harsh. What if they're like Kumail Nanjiani? Have you seen his?
I don't know who that is.
Google him. Look at his eyebrows.
How am I going to spell that?
All right. I was also thinking. So this is my second pitch. You make the third book in the series, but you get Tommy Wiseau to direct it.
Oh, brilliant! I'm behind that.
Exactly, because then you keep everyone happy. Like, fans of the franchise won't be able to...
I don't know about the audience.
Well, no, fans of the franchise won't be able to tell any difference, because they're shit films anyway. But then people like us can go and laugh at it, and it'll be, like, genuinely fascinating and hilarious.
The thing is, Tommy Wiseau would be Christian Grey.
Yeah,
so...
you'd probably have to put something in his contract that means that he's not allowed to cast himself as either of the leads. But he can put himself in there as, like, Christian Grey's best mate.
He wouldn't be able to do the spanking or anything like that because he's, he's how devoted he is to women. he just wants to show them love.
He doesn't hit them.
Well, yeah.
No, exactly. If a lot of people love each other, the world would be a better place.
All right, and I've got a third idea. So they're getting married. We're opening on the wedding in a church. The guy says, if there's anyone out there who knows why these two shouldn't be married, then speak up. And a guy bursts through the door and he says, I know. And they go, oh, who are you? And he says, my name is Jew Grey. And then another guy shows up and he says, my name is Muslim Grey. And they go, all right, we'd better go and talk this out at the bar. And when they get there, the bartender says, what is this, a joke?
The trouble is, you need 47 more religions to make this work.
Oh yeah. Mormon Grey, Satanist Grey, Dudist Grey.
Mormon Grey is probably a colour, unlike the Dulux.
Oh yeah.
All right.
That was 50 Shades Darker. I suppose next year we'll have to find somewhere that 50 Shades Freed fits in logically. Do the whole trilogy. Until then, you can head over to our website at dimreturns.com and of course our various social media channels. And listen to the many, many episodes in our back catalogue, including our 50 Shades of Grey episode. It's a classic. We will of course be back next week with something. What's Marvel, maybe? I don't know. See you then. Bye!